All right, thank you guys for attending my Network Fundamentals session 1. This is the physical layer. Um, so what do I mean by layer, right? I'm going to be referencing something called the OSI model a lot. And what is the OSI model? Essentially, it's a way to model two devices talking to each other, and it breaks out the communication process into 7 abstract layers, right? So, layer 1 is physical layer, layer 2 is data link layer, 3 is a network layer, 4 is transport, 5 is session, 6 is presentation, and 7 is application. We'll be referencing 1 through 3 a lot in these sessions, and then maybe a little bit of 4, although it's a little bit more of an advanced topic. And then maybe a little bit of layer 7. We won't be talking too much about 5 or 6. 1 through 3, and I would even say 1 through 4, is part of a network analyst's day-to-day workflow. They'll be referencing these routinely, right? So what is the physical layer? So the physical layer is referencing the type of media that connect two or more devices together. So to create a network, we need to connect multiple devices to each other. How do we do that? What are the bits traveling on? And how do we make those pretty switch lights go blink, right? There are 3 different types of media. There is copper, which a lot of you, I'm pretty sure, are familiar with. Regular CAT cable, or some people call it Ethernet cable. Technically, Ethernet is the protocol it uses. It's not referencing the cable itself, but a lot of people call it Ethernet, so it's Ethernet cable. Fiber, which is these guys right here, which uses light pulses. You see there's a lot of different fiber connectors here. There's a lot. We'll go over them later. And then radio, so electromagnetic waves on specific frequencies. So example, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So here's a picture of an access point, a wireless access point, which is what broadcasts Wi-Fi signals. And then these guys are point-to-point radio links. We'll go over that a little later too. So each of these media types have their place in a modern network. So copper cabling. So as copper cabling continues to improve, each generation is designated by a category number. So you'll hear CAT in a number. CAT 6 and CAT 6A are most common in today's networks. A copper cable is terminated either by crimping an RJ45 jack, which is these guys, or punching down into a keystone or patch panel. I'll show you pictures of those later. For crimping, there are 2 standards for wire pinout. So in a CAT cable, there are 8 wires. The pinout is the order that go into a jack. There's 2 specific ones that are used, T568A and T568B. Most organizations use B. What is that order? It's right here. RJ45 pinout, T568B, white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. And I'll show you a little picture of it right now too. Let's see, question. When would it be a good time to use A? It's up to the organization. So the organization kind of standardizes on one or the other. It doesn't use both, especially on like a specific run, right? It needs to be the same on both sides. So to avoid confusion, they either standardize on A or B, but most just use B. If you buy a CAT cable from the store, it's B. So what's the difference between B and A? Essentially, orange and green are flipped. So it wouldn't be 2 orange first and green in the middle. It'd be 2 green first and then orange in the middle. So there's the only difference. So you can say it's up to preference, but B is vastly more common. Okay. So unless you have fiber to the desk, your wall cable runs are copper and end at a punch-down wall drop keystone. I'll show you what that looks like later. Okay. And then, CAT cabling comes in these spools, the little boxes. You can even buy some of this at Lowe's, Home Depot. They sell boxes of cat cabling. It's expensive, but you can buy it. Okay, and then here's a chart for the different cat types. Like I said, Cat 6 and Cat 6A are the most common. Sometimes you'll see Cat 5B, but it's older. Cat 5 is really old, and I'm sad to say that we still have some old. It's not doing anything, but we do have some at my place of work. We'll just dispose of it when we can. And then there's 7, 7A, and 8. These are mostly like data center type links, right? Cat 5e, Cat 6 can do 1 gigabit, which is the standard for speed of links today. Cat 5e can do 1 gigabit to 100 meters. Cat 6 the same, but it can also do 10 gigabit up to 55 meters. But the distance is important. And then Cat 6a can do 10 gigabit up to 100 meters. So here is the essentials for having copper networks. So the tool on the left there is a copper crimper, or a cat crimper. So what does that do? It cuts cat cabling, strips cat cabling, and then it also crimps the RJ45 connector on the end, right? And then here on the bottom right of that is an RJ45 connector. We've all seen these. We've seen them all over the place. There's just regular network cable ends, right? RJ45. There's a smaller version. It's RJ11. That's for old telephone links, telephone wires. It looks the same but smaller, and it has 4 wires instead of 8. But these are for cat cabling. And then on the top here is a patch panel. If you've gone into an IDF, you might have seen one of these, or a lot, right? This is where cable runs in the wall end up. So there's going to be, like I said, there's a small room, data closet, intermediary distribution frame, IDF, where you have a switch, you have a couple of Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 6A panels here, and then you would patch that to a switch port. Okay, this is the front, has a bunch of ports on it, and then on the back you'll see that there's no RJ45 connectors there. The cat cabling is cut, stripped, the wires are split apart or separated apart, and then punched down onto these little white things here. The green tool to the right is a punch stone tool. That's what you use to punch these little wires into it. That same tool is also used to punch down cat cabling onto a keystone, which is the bottom of this punch down tool here. These keystones, you see a lot of them because they're the middle part of a wall port. It's actually a keystone. The back is what looks like this. Okay, I have my crimper here. This is what I use. It's like $30 at Lowe's, I think. And you can see here, middle, this little round part is for stripping. It has a little blade. Just twist it like that, and then that same blade can be used to cut cabling. And then here, you can even see the standard here. You put it in there and you squeeze it, and it crimps, and the connector stays. Okay. This is my punch down tool. Somehow I found the exact same tool as a picture. I don't know. That wasn't intentional. I don't know. This is the RJ45 jack. You see a lot of these, right? And then here's a keystone. You see where the wires are punched down onto. Okay. And then I destroyed the cat cabling just so you can see that if I cut it and you strip it, this is what's inside, right? So the different colors, they're, let's say like green, right? There's solid green and then there's white green. They're twisted together. So to do any crimping or punch down, you need to separate these into individuals, and then you put them in the right order. So fiber cabling, part one. So fiber cabling comes in two distinct types, single mode and multi-mode. Single mode fiber has a very thin glass core, usually 8 to 10 microns. Because of this, the max range for single mode links is measured in kilometers. And we actually have links over 50 kilometers for my place of work. Multi-mode fiber has a much wider core, so approximately 50 to 62 microns. Because of this, its range is considerably less than single mode. So if you think about it, let's say you have a tube, right? And you have this little photon going through it, bouncing off the walls, right? A thinner strand, a thinner tube is going to have less bounces probably, right? There's less of an angle to bounce. A wider tube is going to have a lot more bounces. So there's a lot more attenuation or energy loss because of all the bounces. So multi-mode fiber has a lot less range than single mode. So then why use multi-mode, right? Well, it was generally cheaper to implement for short links, but now the price difference is minimal, and organizations are commonly running single mode between their buildings and IDFs, although multi-mode is still used sometimes. And also, one thing to note is that fiber always comes in pairs. So there's a send and a receive. So if you see in the picture here to the left, you'll see at each end of these patch cables, there's two connectors. One is the send and then one is the receive. I have some questions. Let's see. Regarding the cabling for a home lab, what cables would you recommend? Cat 6. Yeah, Cat 6. Unless you're doing, like, you need a 10 gig link, Cat 6A. Just Cat 6 is like the standard. Klein Tools is a great brand for electrical work and tech work as well. Yeah, Klein Tools they're cheap and they're solid tools. Yeah. All right, and let's see, going back to fiber, right? You can see the different types of fiber. So single mode has two types: OS1, OS2. OS2 is like the latest generation. Multi-mode has a 1 through 5. So OM1 is the oldest. It's orange, and also OM2. OM1 can only do 1 gigabit up to 300 meters. It can technically do 10 gigabit, but only up to 30 meters. It's not realistic. It's really short. So basically, if you run this, you're stuck at a gig until you tear it out and run new cable. OM3 is aqua or teal. OM4 is also aqua or teal, or it could be violet. And then OM5 is the newest, it's lime green. Usually you'll see a lot of like aqua patches, OM3, OM4. OM3 can do 10 gigabit up to 300 meters, which is solid. This is like a modern multi-mode if you're running multi-mode, right? Yeah, orange bad. We want to take that out of there. We don't want to see orange ever again. Fiber cabling part 2. Fiber is terminated into many different types of connectors. Some common types are SC and LC. So you see on the left here, or the right here. SC is this one here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And it's a little bit wider blue one. And then LC is smaller, with a less footprint. Other blue one here. ST is still found in organizations, this one here, usually with orange OM1, but it's being phased out for more modern connectors. So this guy here looks like a lightsaber. This is ST. You probably won't find MTP or MPO, the bottom ones, connectors in one of your organizations. They're high density connectors, usually found in data centers. So last month, me and my team actually went to the OFC conference in LA. Basically, it's like a giant networking conference, and essentially, it's just straight up data centers and AI. And you can imagine the type of links that are required to push all that throughput, right? And they had a ton of MTP and MPO connectors, patch panels, because you need that amount of density in like a certain square footage, right? The links that they have that they need to move are, they go up to right now 3.2 terabit links for one link. So you can just imagine the type of stuff they need. It's crazy. So yeah, MTP and MPO are usually found in data centers like that. I had to look up what an FC was. I've never seen it. Apparently, it's as old as ST. It's just an uglier ST to me. I don't know. These are old. So most commonly you'll see LC and SC. And sometimes ST. So fiber connecting part 3. What do those fiber connectors plug into? Either into a fiber patch panel or in a transceiver and plugged into a switch and router. A transceiver is a transmitter receiver that converts electrical signals from the network device into optical signals and vice versa. So these guys right here. So these fiber patches, here's a little LC connector. You see they come in pairs, right? These are actually connected. They would, I don't have a transceiver right now, but they would go into the transceiver, and then you plug that thing into a switch port. Specific ports, so that would either be an SFP slot on a switch, which you see the top switch, the far right is a little SFP module. Those are for fiber. That's where the transceiver plugs into, or also SFP plus, which looks the same but can do up to 10 gig. There's also other form factors such as QSFP plus, we can do up to 40, but there's also a lot more form factors that can do way higher throughput. But these are the most common ones for normal organizations. So SFP, SFP plus, which are these guys. They go into these little square ones, and then a QSFP, which is like a 40 gig, go into the rectangles. They're for a little higher throughput. And then here at the bottom, we have a fiber patch panel. We can see what these connect into. So you'll see, let's say you have two buildings together, you run fiber through it, right? Both ends are going to end in the patch panel, and then you would do a patch to whatever equipment, usually a switch, layer 3 switch, router, whatever. And then behind these little cassettes, this is what it looks like. So you have these individual strands spliced into these connectors here. How fragile are they? They're not too fragile, but you could break them. They're a lot more fragile than cat cabling. They're a lot more fragile than copper. You can abuse copper, right? You can, as long as you're not like doing like tearing it, but fiber, you could break it. Yeah, so you have to be kind of careful. They're not like super duper fragile, but yeah, you can break fiber. It does happen. So wireless networks and access points. So wireless access points are WAPs or APs, broadcast wireless networks. APs are controlled by a wireless LAN controller, WLC. These can be a physical device on premises or can also sit in the cloud. So here's an example of a physical on-prem device. This is a wireless LAN controller. But more and more we see organizations move to cloud controllers. It's just easier. There's less boxes to maintain. We actually use a cloud controller, which is this one here. It's called Ruckus One. So APs broadcast wireless networks, or SSIDs, on 2.4, 5, or 6 gigahertz. Most organizations are running Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, so 802.11ax, although Wi-Fi 7, which is 802.11be, came out in 2024. Vast majority of APs are Power over Ethernet, or PoE. So you don't need a power supply, they get their power through the CAT cable from the switch, if it's a PoE switch. What's the difference between the generations of Wi-Fi throughput? you get more throughput. It's more efficient. And then point-to-point radio links. So what if I need to connect two sites that are too far apart for a cable run? Point-to-point radios can provide long-distance links over kilometers using directional radio waves. So if we throw back to an AP, right? How is an AP broadcasting radio? It's doing it over a wide arc, right? It's usually on the ceiling. It's broadcasting like a big semicircle almost, right? Anyone in its vicinity can connect to it, right? Point-to-points are different. Point-to-points are very directional, right? So they require direct line of sight to each other and must be very accurately aligned. Any slight misalignment could cause bit errors or even a dropped link. So these guys need to be very securely fastened to whatever mount they're on, whatever pole they're on, because if the wind moves it, then your link's gonna go down, or it's gonna flap all the time. And you also need to think about like the air being interfering with it. I think like the humidity can also be a factor, right? And even other radio links, right? If you're using the same frequency and those links are crossing, you're gonna get errors. Are point-to-points more efficient? They're, I wouldn't say they're more efficient. They're a different use case, right? So an AP is for connecting hosts wirelessly, and you kind of have them everywhere, and then you're just kind of going for coverage, right? Users walk around, they move, they connect to different APs, they roam to different APs, right? That's a different use case. A point-to-point, let's say you have a far building. So let's think about IBC, right? So IBC, I don't know if you've seen or noticed, but they have a water tank on the south side of campus, south of the gym, right? How do we connect that one? How do we connect like the cameras that are there? It's too far for a fiber run, right? Way too far. Or you could, but it's be expensive. It's possible, but it's not worth it. So what are we doing? Where they're using a point-to-point link. So they have a point-to-point from one of the other buildings, one end pointing to the water tank, and there's another end pointing back, right? So there's no need to run fiber or any type of cable run. It's over the air. Some trade-offs, but it's a lot more cost-effective, right? So 5 and 60 gigahertz are common for the frequency for point-to-points. Some point-to-points even use licensed frequencies, which are strictly controlled by the FCC to avoid interference. So you're not supposed to use licensed frequencies unless you are allowed to. Those are for very important links. So that is to avoid, like I said, the scenario of, let's say I have a 60 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. And my link's going this way, and then some other organization has a link going this way. If they cross, you're going to get a ton of bit errors. Paying for a license helps avoid that problem. And point-to-point radios are PoE also, and come with a PoE injector, which usually has specific voltages and proprietary pinouts. So, the way that APs get their power is a little bit different, right? They get their PoE power from the switch. You need a PoE switch, right? A switch that can provide power out of its switch port. But for a point-to-point link, it needs more power. It's not enough. So when you buy one of these, they come with a little injector. So the CAT cabling goes into one, which is the data side, go to the switch. The other end goes to the radio. And then that injector has a little power supply plug it into an outlet, and it takes in data from the switch, passes that data along to the radio, but it also provides power to the radio also. So the only thing going up there to the radio is that CAT cable, but now it has power on it. Let's see. Oh, we're saying Anthony helped me set up some Ubiquiti point-to-point tests, and they're awesome. Yeah, they're really useful. And yeah, I mean they're a niche use case. You need them. Like if you got a building far away, you can't run cabling, or it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna be ugly, right? Point-to-points are a great solution. Right. All right. All right, guys. Any other questions? Drop them in the chat. All right, awesome. So I'm working on session 2. Session 2 is going to be IP and MAC addressing and how they work together. Oh, I have a question. Jose's asking, can I invite more people on the server that might benefit from this? Of course. Anyone doesn't even have to be in the IT field currently, doesn't even have to be a student. As long as they're interested and they want to learn, yeah, of course. The more the merrier. Great. Yeah, so session 2 is going to be IP addressing and MAC addressing and how they work together. Like I said, I'm going to be referencing the OSI model a lot, especially layer 2 and layer 3. So yeah, I think it was a good first session. I'm glad you guys liked it, and I appreciate you guys for coming.